A very good afternoon to everyone who's joined us for our Advanced Manufacturing webinar this afternoon with Townsville Enterprise. My name's Wade Chiesa. I'm the Director of Regional Development and Investment here at Townsville Enterprise. And as I said, today the theme's Advanced Manufacturing. And there's no more timely window in our history than now to really put this topic on the table. It's important to acknowledge, however, that these conversations aren't new. The North has always been a key manufacturing hub, contributing significantly to the $20 billion manufacturing industry. This makes sense when economically, politically, and geographically, we have all the ingredients to support a strong manufacturing base. Defence, mining, agriculture, education, ports, international airport. The foundations are here, and so is the opportunity. In Townsville alone, 6,100 people are employed in the manufacturing industry, contributing 879 million of gross value add to the economy and accounting for just over 5.5% of the total GRP. These statistics have held the region in good stead through COVID-19, where it's been our manufacturing industry and a number of our SMEs that have kept our economy moving. And with further unlocking by government, it can be a sector that can provide much needed jobs that Queensland and Australia need to recover from the economic crisis. The chair of the COVID Coordination Commission, Nev Powers, said Australia needs to become more globally competitive and self-sufficient. And I think Townsville North Queensland can play a critical role for that. Today we'll put the spotlight on a number of our local manufacturers doing some incredible things that are powering their way through this period, as well as highlight the exciting development that is the Lansdown Industrial Precinct and the key role that will play in creating jobs for the North and attracting private investment at a time, clearly, public funds are clearly strained. So welcome everyone here today. I want to welcome our panel to speak today from the Future Cities team at Townsville City Council, Ryan Capolo, the Project Director, and Yael Ralph, the Senior Planning Officer. Hello, guys. I'd also like to welcome Govinda Pandey, the CEO of Rockfield Technologies and a co-founder of LiXiA, and we'll be hearing from him today as well. So a very big welcome to you, and to Richard Parker, the General Manager of TEI Services, and we look forward to hearing an update on what they've been up to, and they've been exporting and manufacturing in this region for decades. So welcome again to everybody who's taken the time to join us on our Advanced Manufacturing webinar. To kick us off, I'd like to welcome Yael and Ryan to speak about the Lansdown Eco-Industrial Precinct. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, Wade. Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon to all the viewers as well. Just as a brief introduction, so my name is Ryan Capolo. As Wade had introduced me, then I'm working for Townsville City Council. Come with over 15 years worth of experience in both the private and public sector. I would like to say that if you speak with the clientele I've worked with, then one of the strengths that I bring to a project is being able to work with all stakeholders and make sure that all of their needs are heard and we can collaboratively move through a project. Yael, I might just pass over to you for a brief introduction.
Hi all, my name's Yael. I'm the Senior Planning Officer with the Future Cities team. I bring with me 7 years of development experience with local government and most recently involvement in the Lansdown Eco-Industrial Precinct. Really excited to talk to everyone today.
Thanks, Yael. All right, so we've got a presentation prepared for you. I'll share my screen. All right, and just before we begin, just particularly like to thank Townsville Enterprise as well for the opportunity to provide an update on where the Lansdown Industrial Precinct is up to. Let's get the presentation working. All right, just so as some background, the location of the precinct provides numerous advantages for industrial uses. The site is located in Woodstock, which is about 45 kilometres southeast from Townsville, and it's freehold land owned by Townsville City Council. The site is well placed to access domestic and international road, rail and shipping logistics. It's strategically located with frontage to Flinders Highway, which links directly to the Port Access Road and then onto the Port of Townsville. Additionally, there's ready access to the Bruce Highway to complement with those logistics. There's also the potential for direct access to the Mount Isa rail line, which runs parallel to the Lansdown precinct. So overall, the precinct is approximately 2,200 hectares and it's predominantly cleared land, making it ready for development. So the objectives of the Lansdown precinct are focused on creating sustainable industrial uses. These include attracting proponents which are involved in low emission producing, energy efficient, ecologically sensitive industrial development, working with the innovative and dynamic enterprises that will create new ongoing jobs, not only for the residents of Townsville, but also for North Queensland. Bringing together proponents which complement others in the precinct. So this provides the advantage of strengthening supply chains whilst reducing ongoing operational cost for the proponents within the precinct. And another objective is also to ensure that the land and the residents adjacent to the precinct are not adversely impacted by the industrial use. So the objectives of the Lansdown Industrial Precinct can really be summarised as creating sustainable and long-term employment opportunities by attracting new advanced manufacturing industrial components which complement each other. Just to emphasise again that the proponents that were developed within the precinct will be required to also address any environmental and amenity impacts of their development. So the commitment for Townsville to become the industrial powerhouse of the North was made across the 3 tiers of government in 2016 when the Townsville City Deal was signed. So since that time, much progress has been made, which included the Townsville City Council undertaking an opportunities and infrastructure assessment for the precinct. We completed site studies, including environmental assessments and baseline flood mapping. We've successfully rezoned the precinct from rural to high impact industrial use. We've also undertaken a public tender process which included 5 rounds of applications to identify and attract proponents which met the objectives of the precinct. So what I'll do now is pass over to my colleague Yael, who will go into further detail of the existing proponents, as well as the next steps which council are focusing on.
Hello everyone. So today council has conditionally committed land to 4 different proponents across 5 projects within the precinct. Drive at NQ is a not-for-profit community organisation which incorporates local individuals, clubs and organisations in the pursuit of establishing a permanent unified driver education and motorsport precinct for Townsville. At stage 3 completion, the project is anticipated to provide 147 jobs and over $1.14 billion of investment over 40 years into the North Queensland economy. This will be done through major sports and events tourism attraction. The project occupies a site of about 305 hectares and it's currently received a total of $12 million in federal funding across 2 tranches, with works having commenced on site in the middle of this year. Stage 1 involves the establishment of the long-awaited driver education facilities, which will help to provide vehicle and truck training in North Queensland rather than locals needing to travel outside of their region to attain this type of education. It also includes the base race and off-road rally circuits, in addition to ablutions and site services that are necessary for events to begin taking place on site. We see the synergistic opportunities that lie in the co-location of high-grade training facilities within a high-tech battery manufacturing hub. This is particularly important because future research and development in growing electric vehicles and truck sector is going to be the focus for ongoing industry attraction to the precinct. So this is a really great segue actually to our next private sector project, being the Imperium 3 Townsville lithium-ion battery manufacturing facility. Imperium 3 Townsville is a consortium between a number of peak research, minerals, technology and property development companies who have united to create an 18 gigawatt lithium-ion battery manufacturing facility across 3 stages. Stage 1 is proposed to involve the construction of 1 of 3 processing sheds. So at a high level, the process involves containerized battery mineral materials being imported into the facility, batched through a process of slurry making and coating. I know it doesn't sound particularly delightful, slurry, but it'll be imported into the facility, then batched through a process, followed by packaging into individual battery cells that are charged and then discharged, then finally assembled into various size applications required by their off-takers. To give some context, the annual production of the IM3 Townsville facility can be used to make around 300,000 electric vehicle batteries or over 1 million home batteries. The global economy, as a lot of us know, is increasingly shifting value to stored energy products. The IM3 Townsville facility will capitalise on this growth, seeing the strategic location of the site to the largest northernmost deepwater port in Queensland for international export as a key competitive advantage. At completion of stage 1, 205 jobs are anticipated to be created on site, and once fully operational, a total of 1,150 on-site jobs are estimated. The project across all 3 stages involves a capital investment of $3 billion, with $1.12 billion proposed for stage 1 alone. Following the successful findings of IM3's feasibility study announced in August this year, the consortium is now proceeding towards its final investment decision with NAB as its exclusive financial advisor, in addition to the preparation of the necessary development applications in the coming months. The next project by Pure Minerals involves the development of a new technology minerals refining plant called the TECH project. The Townsville Emerging Chemicals Hub, or the TECH project, involves the construction of a high-grade nickel cobalt ore refining facility, which will process approximately 600,000 tonnes of nickel ore per annum. The materials produced involve a range of mineral ingredients necessary for the production of high-quality, long-life batteries. So these include nickel, cobalt, hematite, and high-purity alumina. The company is currently undertaking the setup of its pilot plant in Western Australia, where they'll be utilising the direct nickel process. This involves treating nickel by leaching using nitric acid under atmospheric pressure. This is as opposed to often traditional methods which use large quantities of sulfuric acid at high temperatures and pressures, which historically result in expensive treatment and disposal of chemical waste. The D&I process has other advantages as well. 2 of the key ones being more than 99% of the nitric acid used in the process is recycled, and the remaining residue is considered a benign silicate, which can be dry stacked, eliminating the need for tailings dams. Importantly, Pure Minerals recently announced last week an MOU signed with James Cook University to undertake a joint research program focused on converting the remaining residue produced from the process into commercial applications, like engineered landfill and non-structural construction materials like blocks, pavers, and cement feed. This is really important to us. So the TECH project has a goal to become the world's first zero-waste nickel cobalt production facility, which fits directly with Council's vision for the precinct. The final project proponent is Edify Energy, which comes with strong links to Queensland, North Queensland already. Edify Energy's involvement in the development of Lansdown focuses on 2 key projects, the first being the Majors Creek Solar Farm, which was approved in 2019 to produce 200 megawatts of power, with options to expand over the project life. Located just 4 kilometres from the precinct, Edify Energy proposed to provide low-cost, locally generated behind-the-meter power to industrial users within the precinct via a private electrical transmission network. In addition to the provision of on-site battery storage at the farm, the solar farm is ideally located on the existing PowerLink network, providing the ability to connect into the national electricity market. The second component of Edify Energy's commitment in the precinct is the development of a 10 megawatt hydrogen electrolyser facility to produce renewable hydrogen, scaling up from a pilot plant initially into commercial production to service not only industrial users within the precinct, but also domestic users more regionally across Queensland and international markets by the export through the Port of Townsville. Edify's focus through both projects is the development of an integrated energy solution for the Lansdown eco-industrial precinct, whereby they become not only a producer, but also a user of the renewable energy they're producing. The concept of co-locating industry with low-cost renewable energy is not a new one. What is new, however, are real tangible examples of this concept transformed into reality. We see Lansdown as the future of environmentally sustainable industry and what we will hope will be a leader in the journey to achieving Queensland's environmental sustainability goals while continuing to create long-term jobs for the regions. So what does this all look like when you piece together private sector and public sector investment together? Of the 2,200 hectares within the precinct, over 830 hectares have been conditionally committed or committed to projects that meet with the objectives for the precinct. For context, this is over half of the available developable land, being 1,500 hectares available in the precinct. To unlock investment for current and future proponents, the following enabling infrastructure is needed. upgrading of vehicle access to the precinct and creating internal access roads to enable early users, providing raw water through an extension from the Horton pipeline, working with energy providers such as Edify Energy to provide clean, sustainable energy, and a gas supply to create a 24-hour power supply option to the precinct. Right now, we have 3 private sector entities and 1 community organisation actively working towards the construction and establishment of their projects in Townsville. These precinct users have the potential to create capital investment of $4 billion, more than 2,500 construction jobs, 1,400 permanent ongoing jobs on site, and over 9,000 indirect and direct jobs in upstream and downstream supply chains in the entire region. This is just for the early proponents alone. Lansdown's vision is to address Australia's pervasive manufacturing challenge by co-locating industry with low-cost renewable power, reducing ongoing operating costs, and regionalising job creation outputs and outcomes. Investment in enabling infrastructure for the precinct will remove red tape and development feasibility, accelerating projects and unlocking thousands of jobs years ahead of schedule. The benefits of the precinct have the potential to make significant positive impacts for Townsville and the wider North Queensland economy that are lasting. Thank you for our presentation. It's been great to be here today.
Thanks, Wade. Over to you.
Thanks very much to both of you, and you'll be joining the panel very shortly, so there'll be some questions. Talking about questions, there is a Q&A feature in the Zoom webinar, and we'd love to hear from you. If you've got any questions for any of our panelists, please feel free to use that, and we'll make sure we get to them after the presentation. Okay, it's now time for me to welcome Dr. Govinda Pandey. Govinda is the CEO of Rockfield Technologies, but also a co-founder of LiXiA, and they're doing some amazing things in the IoT space. And to talk more about it, I'd like to welcome Dr. Govinda Pandey. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Wade, and thanks Townsville Enterprise for this opportunity to share the LiXiA story. So I'll start with the PowerPoint slides. So have you ever wondered, like, what happens to the big assets, infrastructure assets, or machines and equipment when they reach their design life or exceed their design life? So essentially, we've got trillions of dollars worth of aging assets, and majority of them are not compliant to modern standards. Just to give you an example of bridges, 70% of our bridge stock in Australia, they are more than 50 years old, and 50 years is the typical design life of those structures back then. Then every now and then, where there's Opal Towers or bridges in Italy or even in Australia, things do collapse, and they pose serious threat to the safety of like public safety and economic risks. And all these infrastructure assets, they are pretty benign. So they don't talk to us, they don't talk to community, they don't talk to society. So then we looked into all this Industry 4.0, like there are IoTs and data analytics and all those systems coming down the tube. But as people working in the infrastructure industry, so we haven't been able to adopt them. So we've been a bit of a laggard. So we then thought about the opportunity to apply a digital skin on infrastructure assets. Then what we did was we collaborated with James Cook University. By we means Rockfield Technologies. We've been around for 20 years now. We sort of ourselves, we spun out of James Cook University 20 years ago. And we've got a very deep knowledge in the mechanics of all the structures. But at the same time, we then collaborated with Professor Ian Atkinson and his team, EE research team, who's got more than 20 years of experience in the development of IoT and the smarts. And this research initiative was supported by Oz Industry through the Innovation Connections grant, and also was supported by CSIRO's ON program. So essentially our solution is a low-cost IoT sensor system, and is combined with physics and artificial intelligence to provide criticality alerts to the asset owners. Initially, we looked into the bridge space, but we stumbled into this utility industry, the challenge that they've got in managing their poles and wires. If you look at just Queensland, for example, Energy Queensland has got 192,000 kilometre long line with more than 1.7 million poles, and majority of them are timber poles. And these timber poles, this network is 70 years old network, and these timber poles they get attacked by termites, they rot, and they are in expansive soils, and we get cyclones and all sorts of things. And if they fail without a lot of warning, so it could result in brownouts, blackouts, it could even result in bushfire. So it's a pretty complicated asset class to manage. And also now with renewable energy, mums and dads putting solar panel on the roof, and a lot of other renewable energies squirting power up the grid, the temperature of conductor line goes up, and as the temperature goes up, the conductor line sags. So if it breaches the conductor line to ground clearance, then that is a defect as well. And it's very, very hard in that long, massive network to understand the impact of these issues. So essentially, then we approached Energy Queensland, and they sort of agreed to co-create the solution with them. And we went through a trial period, a proof of concept trial, which is successfully completed. And now we are in the process of actually going through a bit more substantial trial. So these are some of the results from that trial. So through the image recognition technology, using our cameras in those IoT devices, we could actually physically measure the conductor sag, as well as other properties such as tilt, twist, and all those parameters from those power poles. And also, when you've got those sensors spread across the entire network, then you're also collecting a very useful microclimate data. So they are temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, and all those sorts of information. So all of a sudden, all these poles and wires, which are very, very hard to manage, a very difficult asset class to manage, all of a sudden we can transform them into a data generating asset class. So now, sort of through this exercise, LiXiA was spun out as a company, and now sort of we've got a new home at Enterprise House. The bottom floor of Enterprise House is Smart Precinct NQ's hardware accelerator. That's where we just recently moved to. And the development process for us is, so we've been through the lead user engagement process. So now we've got a memorandum of understanding with Energy Queensland. So we've been through the initial proof of concept trial, and we've sort of now progressed to the more substantial pilot study. And if that pilot study is successful, then there would be a demand for hundreds of thousands of these little IoT devices. And we also got Townsville City Council as another lead user. So we sort of got an ongoing project with them to develop these IoT sensors more for disaster resilience perspective. So currently we are through the project development phase. So this product development phase into sort of more of a commercial application. And this development phase is being supported by the Queensland government through Advanced Manufacturing Hub initiative, as well as through Townsville City Council's Smart Precinct NQ initiative. So in coming months, we'll go through a bit of a large-scale trial, and probably within 12 months' time, we will go through an equity raise process, as well as go through that mass manufacturing process. Then everyone asks us where we're going to manufacture these little devices and obviously, these sorts of things are manufactured overseas, whether it's in Taiwan or Malaysia and all those sorts of places. And then we started to think about, why can't we do it here in Townsville? So our aim is to build an Industry 4.0 sensor manufacturing facility together with Data Analytics Hub here in Townsville. So our idea is above and beyond LiXiA. So LiXiA is obviously one of the users, but our vision is to establish an IoT plant, which is a shared facility. And obviously, we've got a bit of an ecosystem happening in Townsville. We've got James Cook University. They are the first university in Australia to have IoT engineering program. So they're quite advanced in that area, and also in data analytics. We've got TechNQ. They've got their PTech program. They're preparing next generation of vet program as well. So, and also TAFE in terms of skills in that area, they're sort of working as well. So, and we've got other support mechanism through Advanced Manufacturing Hub, Smart Precinct NQ. So all these things are there. So we're getting very close to that critical mass. So obviously LiXiA would be one of the users, but we've got a pretty broad industry here in Townsville as well. There's manufacturing, health, ag industry, defense. So the idea is to solve the challenges of traditional industries that we have in Townsville, but create a new sunrise industry through the development of technology as a result. So that is the aim. So essentially, there will be the flow-on effect of creation of a new sunrise industry in Townsville, and obviously there will be enduring future-ready jobs. So it's not like a one proponent trying to create an industry and creating a certain number of jobs, but it's more about developing an ecosystem. And also, like, with post-COVID world, so we got to protect us against the sovereign risks. And all these advanced electronics have been flagged as one of the items, and also data as one of the things that we have to sort of reshore or onshore. And essentially, this is what we need to inspire our future generations. So that is where we're at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Govinda. Some exciting opportunities and potential there, and we will bring you back into the panel and ask some questions in relation to what's happening with LiXiA and how to drive that forward. It's now my pleasure to welcome Richard Parker, the General Manager of TEI Services, to the webinar. How are you, Richard?
I'm good, thanks, Wade. How are you?
Well, thanks, mate. Now, TEI Services have been manufacturing for a long time and exporting as well. So you've been in this space for decades. Tell us a little bit about TEI.
Yeah, so we've been here, a local Townsville company. We started in 1968, so that's 52 years ago. We've rebranded a couple of times, but essentially it's still a family-run business. It's changed hands a couple of times. Myself and I have two partners, the current owners. We employ just under 50 people. A dozen of those are apprentices, so we're investing in training. We're a traditional steel manufacturing company. I guess we do a few things, a little bit of civil and stuff as well, but generally we shape and weld and sell steel objects. To be here for the next 50 years, like we have the last 50 years, we're going to have to invest in some technology, and that's what we're doing now. So
So tell us a bit about that investment, because as you said, you traditionally traditional manufacturer. You exported as well to mining operations across the world. But tell us about next steps for you guys.
So the product line we export around the world is a little niche that we've found. At the moment, we're commissioning, or it's being built in Brisbane, a robot that's going to allow us to weld those units out. Now, generally when you put a robot in, everyone gets a bit sensitive about losing jobs, but you look at the statistics, you generally employ 10 people for every robot, so we'll see that our numbers should pick up. It just means we'll have more people fabricating, and the robot welding will be able to service more customers, and our output will be greater is the idea. So yeah, that's one exciting thing we're doing with the robot. We're also looking at connecting our welding machines to the Internet of Things project, so we can monitor the deposition and all the voltages and things in real time.
And Richard, those things like the Internet of Things and moving forward with technology, that has real advantages. Is that right? Like it makes your operation more efficient. Is that fair to say?
Oh, certainly makes us more efficient. It should make us, with efficiencies you get less power, which is there's a green direction to it. But it future-proofs us as well.
Yep.
So I want to continue putting 3 apprentices on every year, and I want to continue not only providing for my family, but also providing for other Townsville families. And that's what motivates me really. It's future-proofing, so we're here in the decades to come.
And what about skills development as well, Richard? Is that a challenge?
Yes, it has been. I feel that's starting to turn. So we've got 2 young guys doing an advanced diploma now, which is an Industry 4.0 course. That's a pilot, and the manufacturing hub were involved in that. That's pretty exciting. So these guys are going to learn how the new tools work. And if you know how the new tools work, you have a better chance of being able to use them properly. Can be said for any tool. If you know how it works, you're going to use it a lot better. So there's all the coding, all of that gets done in the office. So we need to put people on who know the language of coding. And it's all the sciences, it's all the STEAM subjects really that we need to focus on in education generally.
And is that like very much the STEAM subjects very much aligned to manufacturing, I guess, advanced manufacturing?
Well, yes, I've brought up by a scientist who was a biological scientist, but I can see that there's science in everything we do.
Yeah.
Striking an arc to weld steel together, it's almost pure science. It's everything's a science experiment.
Absolutely. Where do you see at the moment the biggest challenges going forward in relation to this? Not only traditional manufacturing, but your advanced manufacturing. I guess you touched on it initially in terms of your skills. Are there any other challenges in this area that need to be resolved to ensure that the industry continues to grow?
We've got to continue to do things smart, I guess, work smart. We haven't got the human resources that they have in some of the larger low-cost, low-wage countries. So we just got to work smarter. We also don't have a monopoly on any of the technology. So if we don't adopt the technology, then we've got no chance. It's kind of, the pandemic's a terrible thing, but there's an opportunity there too. People are starting to talk about onshoring, and it could be the last chance we get for another 100 years. So, let's not miss the opportunity to take advantage of a crisis, not the pandemic.
And there's been quite a lot of discussion about reshoring or onshoring. You see that as the greatest opportunity at the moment for this region?
Yes, I see that as a huge opportunity. So if I go back a couple of federal elections, manufacturing was hardly spoken about, if at all. And now it seems to be topical. So
yeah, very, very much so. Richard, I think on that note, I'll bring the rest of the panel in, because we'll have a bit more of a broader discussion in relation to that. So I'll bring back Ryan and Yael and Govinda to the panel. Govinda, LiXiA and the manufacturing of that. So these sensors, is that what's proposed to do? Is basically manufacture these sensors here in region and in North Queensland?
Absolutely. So particularly with sensors, like, it's slightly different to the traditional manufacturing. So which in general, they are quite energy intensive. These little devices, they don't take a lot of energy, and there are some really interesting sort of devices that pick and place top devices, robotics, if you will, to really help them sort of assemble. Not big volumes, we're not talking about millions of them, but even hundreds of thousands of them. We've got a bit of an interesting space where we can be really, I think, cost effective actually to be able to do it locally here in Australia.
Yeah, great. So essentially the aim is to manufacture these sensors in Australia for use around the world, and for companies around the world, and then for other additional companies then to utilize the data that these sensors tell to assist businesses that own these very large infrastructure assets to manage them better and more efficiently and cost effectively.
Absolutely. So, like with what the geopolitics that have sort of emerged after this pandemic, what is highlighted that there are certain elements that have got huge sovereign risks, particularly around infrastructure, particularly around advanced electronics. Things it's got cameras, you've got microphone, you don't know where the data is going. So we are now becoming more and more sensitive towards data. So most of the highly sophisticated asset owners that we deal with in Australia, they are very, very nervous about their data, the integrity of their data. So there's that opens a huge opportunity for Australian innovators and creative people within Australia to actually really take this one as Richard says, it's a pandemic is such a terrible thing, but there's a real opportunity for people with bright ideas to help our country shield against sovereign risks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Richard, a question that's coming from the audience. You spoke about with robotics, you become, obviously you can increase production and become more efficient. Are you seeing a matched increase in demand to basically supply these products that you're manufacturing?
Well, we sell our mining product across the world, predominantly into Africa. We haven't touched South America, really. I think there's one went to Central America, but the market's out there. The more I can make, the more I can sell. You don't want to get the cart before the horse.
Sure.
Yeah, the demand's there. And it also, it gives people better jobs, maybe, less damaging over time. A tradesman who sort of plied his trade in the first industrial revolution was probably pretty well stuffed at 50, and I'd like to think that people will have a good retirement. So it's better jobs too, economically. Yeah,
good point. Ryan and Yael, Lansdown to me seems it's almost a bringing together of key inputs and logistics to make a pretty efficient manufacturing hub. I think you touched on the gas pipeline, the Horton pipeline, the rail, the road, and then you've got green energy. It's got the makings of the right precinct. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I guess that's what makes the precinct so exciting as well, and puts so much potential into manufacturing in the long term. All of these benefits will have a positive impact to Townsville's economy and to North Queensland. So just to highlight, then the benefits of the precinct is what's attracting, or partly attracting, the existing proponents which we've engaged. There's 4 proponents which we have, and roughly speaking, then we've leased or conditionally leased the only half of the precinct itself. So we still have the whole other half to be able to attract further further proponents. So just to highlight the benefits that we're expecting to receive, I think Yael showed that on the presentation, that just with the existing proponents and leasing only half of the precinct, then we're expecting to inject more than $4 billion in capital investment into the economy. In addition to that, then aside from thousands of construction jobs which we're expecting to see throughout the life of the construction phases, then we're also anticipating in the order of 1,400 ongoing jobs for those proponents, and then in addition to that, more than 9,000 indirect jobs which will be participating in the supply chain. So we've really seen that level of interest from proponents due to all of the benefits which is surrounding the precinct, being, as you said, the logistics for freight, that's for the road, the rail, for shipping as well, but also the ability to provide sustainable and green energy to the precinct. We're seeing that through establishing connections with Edify Energy, with the solar farm, and then also complementing that with the gas supply as well.
Thanks, Ryan. Some big numbers there in terms of jobs, and which is really exciting. I guess just onto that, even with governments wanting to create hydrogen hubs, and Townsville's been well noted there. We're well placed for that as well. Yeah, definitely. In fact, that's one of the projects which our proponents are looking into. It's still early days with that, so I won't go into too much detail about where they're up to. But that's certainly an area which is being targeted. There's a lot of exciting conversations which are happening in that space, as they are elsewhere. Yeah, let's continue to watch that and see the benefits flow through Townsville. Great. Thanks, Ryan. A question to the panel, Govinda, Richard. Manufacturing and advanced manufacturing, what would you say would be a key focus that government needs to look at to really supercharge? We've heard the discussions about wanting to basically bring back manufacturing and be doing more advanced manufacturing, but is it, I mean, Richard, you touched on skills. Govinda, is it input costs? Is it facilities? What is it to take us from here to there?
So from my perspective, Wade, I think we're getting a lot of government support, so which we've been incredibly sort of fortunate to be able to receive them. But I think what is going to really transform this is through the right policies and procurement, processes, just to help encourage creative startups or people with new ideas. And it doesn't need to be startup; it could be like a mature industry. So I think through policies and procurement is where we can really make a difference.
So from my industry, we're starting to participate in the design of the curriculum or the syllabus for the manufacturing apprenticeships, the trades that we have a sort of boilermaker welding and fitter machinists, and we're starting to look at keeping those modern. That there's got to be a focus on what skills we need in the future, rather than teaching people what the blacksmith did. The government can help with that.
And is that a key component in terms of advanced manufacturing? Is really now working out how best to utilise technology to make more efficient manufacturing operations, so we can do more here in Australia.
Yes. That's in a nutshell, yes.
Yeah. I'm just conscious of time. We're getting close to our hour mark. I guess I'll come back to Lansdown and Ryan and Yael again. There's some key infrastructure that needs to be built and developed there to really unlock this area and take it to the next step.
Yeah, definitely. In saying that though, then with the 4 proponents which we do have, then one of them are being Drive It NQ, then they're already in their construction phase. In fact, they're looking to complete stage 1 of their works towards the end of this year. So council with other stakeholders, we are collaboratively working together to see how we can unlock the enabling infrastructure to remove any hurdles for the investment from current proponents and also future proponents. What we've really identified is unlocking infrastructure around the road access, so upgrading road access to the precinct, as well as internal access roads. Also what we touched on previously, providing raw water from the Horton pipeline to the precinct. Further to that, then we're looking at providing green energy to the precinct, so hoping to tap into the solar farm nearby, as well as complementing the power supply, so it's a 24-hour power supply to the precinct, by also extending the gas pipeline as well. So what we do feel is that once we can unlock all of that infrastructure, we're anticipating that there will be further investment, not only from the existing proponents, but it'll also increase the attractiveness of the precinct for other proponents who are looking to invest in Townsville.
Very much so. Thanks, Ryan. I'll come to you, Richard. The future of manufacturing in this region, if I had to say, are you buoyant? Are you positive about it?
Yeah, I'm naturally a positive person. It's the only industry I've worked in, so it's got to work. I'm not ready to retire. So I had a fairly strange career trajectory. Really, I started as a junior in a drawing office, and not many people who start in drawing offices end up in a management position. But it means I've seen everything from, you know, where the hole goes for the nut and bolt to be in the right place, and now right up to, looking to the future and business development. So it's fairly unique. Yes, I see a huge potential in North Queensland. We've got a great capability, perhaps not a great capacity, but we've got a great capability.
Yeah, and I guess you've seen the changes of the industry over the last few decades, just how technology is being used and will continue to be used to grow the business.
I've only seen half of the TEI story. I haven't been here 52 years. But,
so I didn't say 52, but you've been long enough to see a lot more than most people, I would suggest. But yeah, and I guess with robotics, there's another opportunity.
And I've been fortunate to work for some visionary people as well. Yeah, I must say.
Well, it's a great local story, as you said. You haven't been around for the 52 years, but for a business to be manufacturing and exporting for those 52 years, in what's been over the years some challenging times, is a credit to your organisation. And Govinda, I'll finish with you. The Internet of Things, and a lot of people probably listening in and even around the place don't fully understand what the IoT is. But is it fair to say it's utilising sensors to get data to make better decisions?
Absolutely, in a nutshell, that's what it is. So, and again, as I said in my presentation, is that the skills that you need to develop IoT solutions is applicable across industries. All our traditional industries, they're in dire need for transformation, and we can leverage IoT to achieve that. So what we're trying to do here is it's beyond us as a team. Like we're talking about an ecosystem that would help transform those industries, but create a new industry as a result. Wouldn't that be an incredible thing for a region like Townsville?
Yeah, it's certainly very exciting, and hopefully we're manufacturing millions and millions of sensors in the future, and LiXiA becomes a becomes a household name. Well, that does wrap us up. I want to thank Ryan and Yael from the Future Cities team and Townsville City Council. Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wade, and thanks to the viewers for
great to hear about Lansdown Eco-Industrial Precinct and a project which we'll very much continue to advocate for. Richard Parker from TEI Services, thank you, mate. All the best with the robotics and the new technology for your place.
Thanks, Wade. It's been enjoyable, and it's really exciting to hear Govinda talk about bringing this high-tech stuff and building it in Townsville. What used to be science fiction is now you can get out and do it, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Govinda, thank you very much for your time as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. As you heard, a wonderful place in terms of bringing everything together, the Lansdown Eco-Industrial Precinct, in terms of logistics and inputs, and hopefully that gets off the ground and can supercharge advanced manufacturing in this region. You heard today some of the wonderful, innovative things these local manufacturers are doing, both the existing manufacturers and a startup, and of course ably supported by the manufacturing hub as well. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar this afternoon. We have another one on Thursday at 11 o'clock. We've been lucky enough to secure Nev Power, the chair of the COVID Coordination Commission, and Jennifer Westacott, the CEO of the Business Council of Australia. They'll be joining Patricia O'Callaghan, the CEO of Townsville Enterprise, and they will talk all things COVID economic recovery in regional Australia, but more importantly, in relation to Townsville and North Queensland and how we can use our strengths to lead the economic recovery. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you being with us and hope to see you soon. Good afternoon.